everyone. This is James Morgan. Welcome to the James Morgan Jazz Conversation Series 2026. And I have a great guest today. I'll be introducing in a moment. You see him on the split screen. I started this series basically to talk with musicians that are organically making music, recording, touring, playing clubs, so that young artists that are coming up can kind of see there's another world of music out there they can get involved with, rather than just sitting at home doing riffs over and over until they get the perfect one. And that the series will premiere on January 1st, 2026, and I have the great keyboardist drummer Gary-husband for the world premiere. And it's almost a 2-hour interview or conversation, if you will. Gary, as everyone knows, has played with Holdsworth, McLaughlin, Cobham, Jack Bruce, everybody. And I had the pleasure of recording an EP with him in 2024 called A Soul in Time. We were joined with Hadrian Farad on bass and saxophonist Eric Marienthal. And so check that album out. But I think you'll find the conversation very interesting. And also, I want to learn about a lot of the musicians that I admire and have been listening to. And one of those is Reza Khan, a guitarist who we'll be talking to today. He's originally from Bangladesh. He is based in New York at the moment. He's a producer, a composer. I want to find out about his process of composing songs. He has 7 albums out so far, and his last one, Mystical, he's got some great collaboration on there with Jeff Lorber, Bob James, and another bassist, Brendan Rothwell, who I just interviewed a few days ago. Great guy, and I understand they're friends. But without further ado, I want to welcome Reza to the series. I really appreciate you participating in this and joining the series. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me here, James. I've been following you also for quite some time and quite intrigued by the work you do and the style of music you represent. So it'll be nice. It'll be fun to talk about, our stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love about your story is you combine the Indian classical, which from your youth, and whatever your journey brought you to a point where you're incorporating it with modern jazz, contemporary jazz. And unlike a lot of the smooth contemporary guitarists out there that I hear, a lot of them sound the same, very R&B-ish sound, which that's their sound. You have a very unique niche of sound, and I have a fusion background, Mahavishnu Orchestra and Demiola and all that from growing up in the 70s. And your playing really evokes a lot of that style for me, and I love that style. And you have such a melodic way of soloing, and your music is very sensitive, and I really love it. So when you were younger, was there a lot of music in your house? How did you get introduced to music?
Well, I mean, as you mentioned, I was born in East Pakistan, and it became Bangladesh in 1971. George Harrison concert for Bangladesh. And so my home, my dad was a musician. He was a singer. He was a songwriter, poet. So he had this discipline in the house that we would all get together 2-3 times between the siblings and other guest musicians. And in Bengali terms, we call it jalsa, means hang out.
Like we're doing now.
Exactly. But in this case, we will hang out with pandits and musicians and learning about the folk music of Bengal region, and at the same time, classical Indian music. So, I was in charge of the percussion at that time.
Oh, wow.
As a young boy of 7-8 years old, I was trained professionally by the pandits of tabla. So I learned tabla for 12-13 years at that point in time, and would participate in all kind of jam session together. And I don't have to tell you how long an Indian raga session can go on. Yeah. So it's a discipline, it's an art, it's part of the DNA. It's a family tradition of really understanding the discipline of Indian music. Okay, so we all raised that way at home. Instead of playing cricket or badminton at night or during the day soccer, my father will force us to do music. So that's how I grew up.
Yeah. So you took lessons as a child, like actual from a teacher, and
Yes,
learned how to read and all of that.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
The whole idea of Indian music is to feel, not so much about read music and play
Yeah.
music. The discipline is to get into the zone, to feel the music, and then eventually. So the first year, I was not even allowed to play the instrument, just to feel the instrument, feel the music, and then slowly, yeah.
So in that music, I guess indie music's based on quarter tones, whereas Western is half and whole tone. Uh, how's the transition from that, or was that part of the whole tone, half tone thing, part of that education?
I think Indian music
Or
is
how did
how
you
you.
transition, I guess, from that to?
Oh, obviously, it's in the 70s music. I mean, I was playing Indian music up until I would say high school.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this great 70s rock and roll music hit the scene.
Uh-huh.
Okay. My father was a diplomat and also the head of public health engineering. And he would travel all across the world, and he would bring in vinyls, EPs, 33
Oh
of all
yeah.
kind of sample. So Bart Bacharach to Grand Funk Railroad to Eagles, America, Mahavishnu.
Yeah. And you played sitar at some point, didn't you?
I picked up
Tabla.
sitar as well, learned how to play a little bit here and there, but it was not something that I hung on for a long time.
Yeah. So in the 70s, you're listening to Western music. How did you come to be inspired? Was there one single moment, or was it like someone you heard play that said, "Oh, I have to play guitar"? Because I know for me, when I heard Bill Connors on "Hymn to the Seventh Galaxy," I went out and bought a guitar. I wanted to be him, you know. So was there a time like that?
For me, the White Album of Pat Metheny totally changed my mind. I mean, what an organic music should sound like, right?
Yeah.
You
What a
know,
great inspiration. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that inspired me. Also the scales of Pat. It's out of this world. I mean, there's so much genius mind that in
Yeah.
the approach, the composition, Lyle and Pat, what they
Mhm.
did at that time. I mean, it blew my mind away. And then I heard some Al Di Meola at that point. And
Yeah.
of course John McLaughlin himself, the master.
Yes.
So slowly, realizing that how much at one point, I had to made myself understood that it's not the speed
Hmm.
of things, it's the storytelling through
Yeah.
melodies, right?
Yeah.
So,
So, so
so I switched over slowly from Indian classical into what we call contemporary world music.
oh, interesting. And so you're uh as you said, it's telling a story. When so you picked up the guitar, you start playing electric, or and then were you?
All acoustic in the beginning, and I was heavily inspired by the very first album of a band called America,
Oh yes.
Horse with No Name.
Oh yeah.
All right, I mean, that first album really is something to talk about how the acoustic guitar trios with a whole band, can
Yeah.
contribute to the music. You know,
Hmm.
so my brother, he had his own trio band. They were all playing all covers of America, and that's who I learned how to play guitar from. A few chords from there, and then I picked up on my own.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So and then was there a time, do you think, that you found when you found your voice? Because you do, when I hear you play, I know it's you. And I think that's for me, I think that's why I think young musicians that are just sitting in their room playing and not interacting with other musicians, I think you find your voice, especially when you're playing jazz, because you're improvising and you're kind of in the moment and you're having a conversation musically with the other players. And it's you're collaborating with a lot of great musicians right now. And I'm sure when they come in, you don't tell them do this and do that. You know, they have their own voice and you say, hey, just speak to the song. And they know, and they do, and it's perfect. And so you found your voice, and then when did you decide how did you transition from that into kind of finding your own music?
Well, the story is we all came from a cover band experience, right? Playing covers, being the sideman, doing gigs, and then you get really tired of playing covers, right? And you always search for your own story, your own voice, So I think I found my voice in the late 70s. Started developing a style that would be uniquely my own. Okay. The style was never an issue. It's finding it's the sound, the tone.
The tones, yeah.
Right? So we keep changing pedal boards, changing preamps, changing guitars, and eventually, years and years later, you stick to one set of instruments, one set of pedal boards and effects when you settle into a sound. And I think that happened to me roughly about mid 80s, late 90s, when I started settling into a tone to develop based on that foundation and platform.
Yeah.
For the young musician, I would say, tell your story, make your story heard. Don't think about the speed techniques or anything. Those comes naturally. You could practice your scales, 3 months, and you'll be like flying to the fretboard.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so are other 500,000 guitarists in the world, right?
That's true.
Yeah. But what makes you you? So.
Yeah. And for me, I'm self-taught. I play by ear. All my music I write, everything is, I don't read charts at all. So I was kind of forced to find my voice quickly because, and I felt I always had to work twice as hard as musicians that were schooled because they could read. It was easier for them. And I always played with really good musicians that could read because they could explain things to the other players what I was doing. Because they'd say, well, what scale are you playing there? And I go, I don't know, I'm just playing. Because to me, it was just a voice. And it's true, you want to tell a story, but you can't tell the story until you have your voice. And part of that is what you said, when you find your tone and the instrument and everything is in balance. So when you pick it up, it's like a conversation. It just organically happens. So you don't have to think about those things. You can just think about the music, and then that comes out.
I'm not a good reader. For me, I struggle.
Yeah.
It's a skill that you have to develop, and I don't think I have the patience to develop anymore. But for me, is like focus on style. One of the late great guitar player, Chuck Loeb, for example, when you listen to his chops, right? Unbelievable chops. All right. But you can tell it's Chuck. Why? Because the way he phrases things, when he's having the conversation with his guitar, right? It's him, right? So it's not about techniques. I think it's about the voicing, the phrasing, the storytelling, how you approach a solo, how you build a solo without really exaggerating the solo. It needs to be just about right.
Yeah.
So this is what I like about the approach to music. When I look at music, I could play fast if I wanted to, but why?
And I've heard you play fast. But again, that's one of the aspects of your guitar playing I love is the tone. To me, that's there's a pianist, Hiromi. She chooses the musicians she plays with based on their tone. She'll hear somebody, oh, I love that tone, and she'll contact them and would you like to play? Currently, she plays with Adrian a lot more recently. But was there a musician or a guitar player other than Pat Metheny? I mean, you're in the contemporary modern smooth jazz genre, which I think is a great fit. And I love the platform because it reaches such a diverse audience. And again, to me, smooth jazz is really just R&B without lyrics in a way. And uh, was there like a musician that had an impact on you to move into this direction, or was it just happened on your own?
I mean, there are so many great influencers out there. Listening to them, inspires you to be like them or learn from them, right? So
Yeah.
Russ Freeman, I can talk about. I love the way he approaches his solos, the tone.
Hmm.
What a beautiful, very tasty melodies that he comes up with.
Right.
Then you have Acoustic Alchemy, Greg Carmichael, the way they approach in the solo, the way he approaches his solo. Miles Gilderdale, he's on a couple of my records
Oh,
from Acoustic Alchemy. I love his approaches, how he takes us, a solo concept and build it up.
right.
I mean, there's so many people I
Hmm.
worked with.
Yeah.
I mean, each of them are unique. They found their own voices and they just bring in something unique to that particular tune that you're looking for that you want someone else.
Yeah.
And music should be about collaboration, right? It's not about just you. So,
Yeah. Well,
so Kylie
speaking,
Minogue is another one. I mean, I'm completely in love with his approach to some some of his songs. I mean,
uh,
how does he come up with the concept? I mean,
yeah. Well, you collaborate a lot, or you have, and I think he helped produce your album. Is sax player Dave Mann, I think.
right.
Yeah. And how long have you been working with him?
Dave and I were working from the Next Train Home album, which would be, I would say, 2017,
Uh-huh.
roughly about 8 years ago.
Wow. Yeah, that's great to have that kind of connection, because then it's more like family than.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's a monster musician himself,
Yeah.
a producer, and very, very organized.
Yeah. Which is great.
Okay.
Yeah. And you need to be in this business, definitely. So what inspired you to write the album Mystical and choose to, because the other past albums were more just you. This one seems like you just embraced all these other people into your world. And what inspired you to do that?
It's just an experiment to see how collaborative music could be, and also co-writing. I never really did co-writing in the past.
Hmm.
So Mystical was something that I spoke to Dave about. Do you have any song in your vault that I could use, or I have some ideas that you could write a piece of it? So it was in that mindset that we approached the album, and then
Hmm.
we collectively decided I think we should bring in Brendan on bass for one of the tunes.
Hmm.
Bob should come in to play the piano, and we presented to each of these collaborators, Jeff Lorber,
Hmm.
um, and just to see what happens. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
tell them what to play because they have their own voices, they have their
Hmm.
own stories, and how our stories come as a compendium.
Yeah.
That's what really Mystical is about.
Yeah, to me, that album is there's a lot of albums out there, obviously. It used to be that 9,000 records were released once a month, maybe 15 years ago. Now it's 60,000 songs a day come out. It's incredible to be even noticed. But to me, this album it's kind of a pinnacle album I think, because not just because of all the great people on there, Jimmy Haslip and just so many people, but just the compositions are all different, and they're so well put together, and there's so much texture, and it just evokes a lot. What is your writing process? Do you write chords and do melodies? Do you just come up with a melody? Do you work off rhythm? What's your process? Do you have one?
There is not a single definition. You should know that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're walking around and you're getting hooked into a melody line,
Mhm.
And that you don't even know if that's a chorus or a verse or that's an outro or intro. You
Yeah.
are just repeating in your head something that you can't get out of it. And now you need to find a place for that melody somewhere in a tune, right? So this is how it normally for me it starts. Sometimes I'll sit in a piano because
Mhm.
and I will write maybe 16 bars in a piano out of inspiration that you know keep
Mhm.
fiddling with it.
Yeah.
But it's a start. And then I need to start looking at, okay, how do I introduce this hook?
Right.
Then I will compose the rest slowly over time to make sure they're all glued together, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes I will have a definite idea, like I want to write a song on 11/18 or 7/4 or
Yeah.
6/8, or 3/3 or weird, 18/12. I don't know. I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
making this up now.
Sure.
And then I will force myself, okay, how do I break this up into 3/3/3/3/5?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And because of the Indian music background, I will have extra bars, bar two here, which is a problem with working with Western musician because I need to
Mhm.
explain to them why do I have an extra one bar or two bar between transition.
Yeah.
But it's just the way I think that,
Right.
you need to tell a story, transcribing mechanically in a piece of paper, whatever it takes to get there.
Mhm.
So some things are driven by melody, some things are driven by form that
Mhm.
I have in my head because I work with a very talented drummer, Mauricio Zottarelli from Brazil. He toured with Lyric an Hour, he toured with
Mhm.
Hiromi, you know, and so I always think like, how do I get him to play something interesting?
Yeah.
So sometimes you write music to make sure that it sits in nicely and there is an interest from the rhythm section too, right?
Yeah. Well, they say a band is only as good as its drummer, and which could be true. So, from Mystical, what were you hoping to? What kind of feeling or um, um story were you hoping listeners get out of the album for you? Just to understand you, where you're coming from, but since you have so many collaborators, what's the overall feeling that you want people
I
to
think
get?
it was a very good experience and it was a very polished album, Mystical itself, right? And I'm very happy with the good outcome of that record in terms of collaboration. But I think I need to go back to my roots a
Yeah.
little bit more because, it's great to have these collaborators. They do magical things in your record, right? But more and more, I think like my next couple of projects, I need to kind of go back to my own definition of who Reza is.
hmm Yeah. 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 Because that's who you are, and but again, it is good to collaborate. When I did Soul in Time, um, I was actually that happened by accident, but it was because when Dean produced my Dean Brown guitarist, who's passed away 2 years next month, um, while they were editing Groove and Smooth, which was my Ghost Jazz Trio band, um, I would be playing in the other room by myself because he knew what he wanted to do. And on the way home, because we always drove together to and back from the studio, he would say, what was that stuff you were playing while we were recording last month? And I said, oh, it's just some fusion stuff, a song I wrote in 94. I never, I like, he goes, wow, you should record that stuff. He says, it's some beautiful songs. And I go, yeah, I'd love to. And he goes, it has that 70s sound. And I said, I always wanted to record these. And he says, well, if you want, I'd love to do it. And I was like, great. And he goes, I can only think of two people like that could do this. And he goes, I'm going to call him and I'll let you know later. And he called me that night. He says, Gary Husband and Hadrian Farad want to participate. And of course, the story was he passed away, and then Gary and I and Hadrian wanted to complete it because it was very dear to Dean, this album, because he hadn't done an album in about 6 years and had that 70s feel. But the one thing I learned from doing the album was that playing with Gary and so forth. And I didn't have Dean around when I had to solo and do my thing. I had to just, pony up. Okay, I'm playing with Gary and Hadrian now. I got to do my thing. And I thought about Dean always saying, when you go in the studio, yeah, you're practicing at home and you're doing everything, but when you go in, don't think about anything. Don't forget about the solo. Just be in the moment and be inspired by the moment. And I think playing with other musicians, I learned with Gary and Hadrian, is that they playing with other music inspires you a certain way, and you come out and play a certain way. But I also realized, because the music I'm doing now, which is the James Morgan jazz, so I feel like I found my groove now. Like what you're saying, you want to find that groove in you, that's you. It is great to play with other people, but there's so much satisfaction. It's like being home, that being at home feeling. So I understand that just from my own experience with that. Yeah. Some of your music kind of sounds like it could be movie soundtrack music, especially.
Yeah, I'm very conceptual in that case, because like if you listen to some of the older stuff, something like Dreamwalker
Yeah.
record, right? So, it, you know, I love playing with the toys that I have in the back, all the plugins, all the sound effects and everything. So sometimes I will go into a Dolby 5.1 mode, say, let's create a movie kind of theme. And eventually, so inspired by obviously Alan Parsons' project back in the good old days. So I used to listen to them a lot, Pink Floyd, obviously. All right. So I struggled a lot trying to define which genre I fit into or I would like to be part of. And I still don't know for sure 100%. People talk about contemporary jazz, world fusion. Some of my stuff that I write is very new agey. Okay. Some of them could be world fusion,
Right.
So I actually don't know at this very moment in time, am I staying in the right place? I think Imaginary Road is probably one of my proudest moments. We were in Spain together with for a show, and everything happened in that recording studio organically. And this is the feel that I would like in my record, not internet recording or offline recording. Even though if you bring in some of the most iconic musicians, if they're not in the room with you, there's something missing.
Well, to that point, my last three singles, the one that's coming out January 30th, they're all recorded live in the room. I playing the chords and then I go right into the solo. And we only do maybe 3 takes, maybe one to kind of, it's more like a warm up, but even they always have the tape on. And my first single was actually the first take. It wasn't the third or fourth, just because it was, you get that magic, and that's why I do that. And of course, the saying, you fix it in the mix. If there's something you don't like, you can take something out. But I've been fortunate with the players that I have, that I've been able to record live. There's nothing like it, that feeling, the magic,
We call it the demo syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Your first instinct is always right, and after that is an afterthought. I need to talk about and my friend Brandon a lot here, Brandon Rothwell. I got to know him because we have a common friend, Miles, from AA. So I invited him last year to collaborate with me in Mystical. Sorry, when Mystical was released, and then we worked on a brand new record together. All him on bass. And again, a different approach, because he would take my tune and he will approach this completely different. But the deal was, again, you need to be in the room with us all together when we record this, because that's when magic happens, right?
Yeah.
So this new record that we worked on together is called Elemental. Okay, and it's a great, great record, and it will come out soon, hopefully. Not this year, because it's
right.
Yeah, But Brendan is very unique. He is so
Mhm.
talented in terms of,
Very, yeah.
his approach
He's
to the
smart.
to very smart, very tasty,
Yeah, yeah.
and he's got his own voice too. He
Oh,
found his
absolutely.
sound,
Yeah.
right? I love working with him. I love collaborating with him. And when you find a person who knows what needs to be done
Yeah.
to a song, it is excellent. The same thing I can also talk about Mark Egan. What a pleasure to
Oh,
work with him.
yeah.
I mean, that sound of Mark on a fretless, I mean,
Uh-huh.
so when
Yeah.
you want that sound, I mean, there's nobody I think second to him who can give
And
you
it's
that
funny
sound.
because you said you used to listen to the Metheny group and then be able to play with him. I remember in the 90s, him and Danny Gottlieb would go to Asia and they would just play together.
Yeah.
And then on the way back, they would stop in Hawaii, where I lived at the time. And I was I was running a restaurant there in the Valley, and they came to play there. And Mark would use a digital Digitech looper, and he would set up, and then he'd play over it and the drums. And he lost it, or it went somewhere else. But I was a guitar player, and I had the exact, because he was telling me, I go, well, I have one at home. You can use it. So I drove home, got it, brought it back, and saved the day. But I ended up hanging out with them, which was great. I think it was 94, or even before that, maybe 92. And great guy, and Danny as well. But now you do live shows too. You do clubs in the area. Now, what do you prefer? Do you prefer playing live, or do you prefer recording, or do you like both?
I think live is when you come together as a
Mhm.
musician because you have all the time in the world. If you're in your studio, you can do experiments and everything. But as a performer, when you play out there, there's
Mhm.
something about it that
Mhm.
you could never get it at home.
Yeah.
You are feeling the energy of the crowd.
Mhm.
Okay. And I can feel it because when I play my melodies, everybody's quiet.
Mhm.
When I'm doing my crazy riffs,
Mhm.
everybody's shouting.
Mhm.
All right. The respect and it's a symbiotic relationship between the performer and the live audience. And I think and I prefer playing live, but not huge venues. I prefer intimate venues so I can feel like I'm in my own living room
Mhm.
and I'm talking to them in a very informal way.
Right. Yeah. And then also too, you're feeling the energy for the musicians. And the thing I love about playing live, I agree with you, is you're in the moment, you're on the edge, because there's no redos. You're just you're not actually not even thinking in a way. Now, when do you have a practice routine? Do you practice every day? Do you, um, like I know I'm interviewing a lot of musicians that tour all the time. So they're doing sound checks during the day, they're playing at night. They don't really need to practice that much because they're playing so much. Do you have a practice routine that you do, or?
Yeah, I do. Because just like you, I'm self-taught.
Uh-huh.
I don't play guitar technically correct way.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So so I keep working on very individual way of practicing my skills, especially when I'm using alternate tuning.
Hmm.
Okay, some of my songs, the way I have to play the melody, getting that Indian phrasing
Hmm.
done, I cannot go top to bottom like that.
Yeah.
I have to really glide the strings like
Mhm.
a sitar.
Yeah.
And it requires a different kind of mindset. So I do have a routine and I practice to get that sound perfected.
Yeah. And do you have gear that you use in recording that is separate from gear that you use live, or is there like a guitar? Like, what is your current gear like right now when you go and play club guitar and
So, yeah, I've got the Sadowski,
wow.
okay, for a Strat and a semi-hollow body. That's my go-to.
Uh-huh.
The semi-hollow body, I had Patrick coming from Ross's Tech. I don't know if you know him.
I've
He,
heard the
he
name.
Yeah, so he did some modification to that. So I have a MIDI pickup there as well as a piezo installed on the semi-hollow body, so I can get a lot of different. I can play complete acoustic with that on stage.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I can blend with an acoustic sampler on the MIDI and then blend the sound. So,
Wow.
so other than the Sadowski Strat, I also use my Loudon
The what?
jazz nylon string.
Oh, okay.
So, and then these are my live performance gear. And the studio, I have got arsenal of like 18 guitars in the studio, pick and choose based on
Right.
what the song needs.
And do you have a certain amp? Like I ended up actually, you were talking about Loeb. I actually got the Blues Cube Roland because I love the tone he was getting and I love it. But I couldn't live without it. When, like you said, once you find your tone, it's like even a pick. I've driven to a gig and forgot my pick and drove all the way home to get it, even though I have other picks because I have it shaped a certain way. I got it razor blade so it won't slip. And is there a certain amp that you use that you like? Or?
Well, I mean, in order to get my sound settled into every venue that I don't have, so I'm mostly a Roland Jazz chorus guy
Okay, yeah,
and Fender 65 edition deluxe.
right.
So I'm able to replicate what I hear at home and what I do. But when I do my recording, of course, I do have the Victory amps. I've got a Vox,
Uh-huh.
a
And
Mesa.
what kind of pedals do you use? Do you use delay, reverb, chorus?
So it's a combination of Strymon gears for my reverb,
Hmm.
timeline, and the Big Sky for my DSP time base, Cloudburst for my atmospheric. These are all Strymon gear that I use.
Hmm.
And then I use a basic a Helix
Oh,
Stomp XL to
yeah,
get my reamping, modeling, and whatnot. More
very
and more, I'm
popular.
finding out that you get a better sound on stage these days with the technology,
Hmm.
direct PA from the NAMP modeling.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And no feedback.
And no feedback. And it makes your setup so easy.
Yeah.
Okay. And also because you're most cases, I do a multi-track recording of all my life. Now the one that you see in the back, it was a show from 2 weeks ago, and I'm
Oh,
still listening to it and adjusting my next show approach.
hmm.
How
Right.
am I going to do it? But I think I like to do it both ways. I would like to reamp, you know, and get one thing sent to the PA, another one from the amp, and blend the signal together.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I know when I record, I have a mic in front of the amp, and then I also have a plug-in and through the back, uh, obviously, and it's nice to get balance them. I've been trying to simplify because uh, again, when I met Dean, he goes, how do you get that sound out of your guitar? He says it's a box with one knob, with a tone and a volume. And he says uh, he actually I used to use too much reverb, but and delay. But I think a little reverb, a little delay, really adds to, for me, the note duration. A lot of the guitar players, as you know, like Norman Brown and Benson and people like that, it's almost like a dry sound, very articulate. That's great. They play that so well. For me, it doesn't capture me when I'm playing. I have to have a little duration of my notes and some warmth to it, and stretch it out a little bit. And I think your playing has that when you're soloing, especially when you're doing the fusion type soloing, you have that sound and it's almost like more like you're singing rather than playing the guitar. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah. So you do have you seem to have a grasp on the technology to almost like to wear makeup like a woman would wear makeup, but you can't tell she's wearing it. You have a tone and stuff, but you can't. That's why I ask, because I'm sure there's a lot of players out there when they hear your tone and hear you play, they're like, how does he get that sound? So,
It's really no rocket science. I mean, I'm using the right level of compression, a little bit of delay, and then
mhm,
the reverb at the tail. That's my basic sound, but it's not exaggerated.
yeah.
Then I have supplemental reverb and time-based programming
Hmm.
when I need to go into one step more. So almost like you're adding a reverb over a reverb, a delay over a delay. I don't know if it makes sense to you.
So you're kind of thickening it?
Yeah, layering it only if the song needs it.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so create those atmospheric sounds. There are times you need them. And I'm heading towards a situation where I would like to have a quartet with two guitars, bass.
Hmm.
So who will do the pads for you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So with technology, you can have the arpeggiators can do the job of a nice pads as you're playing your solo.
Hmm.
This is what I'm enjoying. People talk about AI. People talk about there are just so much you can trigger from what you're playing.
But you're saying they talk about it in kind of a negative way. You're saying it's a tool you can embrace
Yeah,
and use it, which I agree with totally. I think you're spot on there. I think especially with older players, the ones that are in their 70s and even older, they get kind of a chip on their shoulder about it because obviously they didn't have it back then and that kind of thing. But for me, I agree. I think technology evolves just like it did when it went from Fender Rhodes and they came up with a synthesizer. Everybody was like, oh, yeah, and then that became the thing. So I think you seem to have a very good grasp on the technology more than most of the musicians that I've been talking to.
I am by default an ICT person, right?
There you go.
I graduated in computer science. Technology
Yeah.
is what I've been doing for such a long time. So
And you have an understanding of it. It comes natural. Now, what artists are you listening to these days yourself when you're in your car or just want to have music on? Is there any particular genre of music? Is it different than what you play?
I'm listening to, believe it or not, and don't laugh, please.
Yeah.
I have a 25-year-old daughter, so she listens to all kind of stuff coming from Egypt, from Senegal, all kind of fusion stuff. So, and the algorithm picks up because sometimes when we're driving together, she hijacks my car system.
You
Okay, and she puts her playlist. All of a sudden, the algorithm just completely wrong for me, my taste. But I'm also learning from that. So a lot of world music stuff I'm listening lately,
Okay.
and going back to some of the wonderful work that A.R. Rahman, I don't know if you know the name
Uh-huh.
of, okay, he has done with some fusion Indian musicians from the Berkeley, you know, side. I'm really enjoying,
Yeah.
Mohini Dey's bass.
Oh yeah. 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 She's
Okay, phenomena. And so getting back to roots, meaning like, okay, I'm working on a conceptual album called Pon Fusion in Spanish.
oh.
Okay, and maybe we collaborate in one song.
Oh,
If you're,
I would love to play with you at some yeah. If you ever
yeah.
think that my guitar would be a good fit, I'm there.
So I'm working on a conceptual album, so I'm listening to what has been done in this vein by musicians of like mind
Right.
over the last 5-10 years. So this is mostly I'm in a research mode at this point in my
Yeah.
car.
Yeah. Which is good because that expands. Like I listen to, believe it or not, a lot of house music. I listen to a internet station called Groove Salad, and I keep it on. It's a very heavy keyboard based, and I just love the relaxed feeling of it. And one thing I've learned from listening to that music is, and something that somebody I interviewed told me once. They thought they took it as an insult at the time, but they've incorporated it into how they play. Is you don't always have to be playing. Space is very important in music, and when I was when I listen to house music, it's very spatial, and I love that feeling because it allows you to relax and think. When I listen to old Mahavishnu Intermounting Flame, Birds of Fire, which I think was in 1820 rhythm or or 918 or 821 maybe, some weird rhythm. Now I listen to it and it's not that I don't like it, but it's also almost an assault on my senses, because it doesn't, back then I couldn't get enough of it. I'd wear a record out and have to go buy a new one. But now tone has become so important in the relax and the space in between. And that's another thing I like about your compositions. There's a lot of space in there.
Yeah, a lot of people thank for that. I mean, one of the things that when I released Next Train Home, it was a drastic shift from the previous album.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was, okay, people call me, I'm a contemporary jazz or smooth jazz. I think the industry has this tremendous way of boxing you into a genre.
Labels,
for
yeah.
you to operate, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you need to find the right radio promoter. You need to find,
Mm-hmm.
how you distribute.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the algorithms today, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get out of it? So I took a risk in the Next Train Home album. I said, okay, this is going to be a smooth album, but I'm going to invite a straight ahead pianist.
Yeah.
Okay. And just by doing that, things have changed and evolved to another level, right?
Yeah.
So Matt King, who I was introduced to at that record, he really plays straight ahead piano.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, this is a smooth composition. Let's see what you can do. So his normal approach to anything smooth will be coming from a straight ahead background.
Right.
Result was a fusionistic sound
Mm-hmm.
on a piano solos and the way he would approach the smooth compositions. And that makes it so different from other smooth players.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And again, a lot of guitar players, as I said before, they're very R&B oriented sound. I don't have that background or sound. You don't. That's why I feel a kinship to you, because when I listen to you, because you remind me of me in a way, because you have your own niche like I do. I have my own sound, and I think we should do something together. It would be very compatible. Now, what's a piece of advice another musician has given you along your musical journey that kind of stuck with you that you could share with us?
This is, something that I take it very seriously, the advice that I was given. The two advices. Number one, don't think about speed and techniques. think about the musical journey that you are going to tell everybody, the story,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like singing, a song with vocals, with lyrics, is guiding you, the story of the song. But
Mm-hmm.
when you're an instrumentalist, you need to achieve the same thing. So what is your story? So you have to think about it when you write your compositions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't just compile multiple loops from your Logic or Loop Factory and put together a song. That's not a storytelling, not human. The second is, don't get caught up in this hype that you have to have charts.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have it top 10, top 20, top 30. Music, if it is good enough for the radio, they will pick it up. Yeah. But that should not be driving your,
your direction or anything.
Your directions, your journey, right? You should be writing music for you, mm-hmm. to tell your story, all right? And so you don't make any chart hits. You don't get a media base or Billboard or whatever the charts today is. Mm-hmm. It should not be driving your inspiration. Yeah. Okay. Well, and then this is.
I was going to just say real quick. Sandy Shore said, "Live by the charts, you die by the charts." But go ahead.
Oh no, I don't agree.
Well, she says if you live by, that's like disregard them. They're not important, like you're saying. Otherwise, you're I'm on the charts. Oh, I'm not. No.
I mean, a chart doesn't get you gigs. A chart doesn't get you anything.
Doesn't pay
Spotify
the bills.
Doesn't pay you that much unless you have 20 million streams.
Or even that. Okay.
Yeah. So I think you should be thinking about what legacy you're going to leave behind. Mm-hmm. Okay, so these days music is global, okay, and it's in the satellites, okay, and you're writing something, publishing something. It's not like people who have to look for the vinyls in an attic and, oh, I found this vinyl. Okay, it is gonna be available for the next 100 years, 200 years on the ether waves.
Mhm.
Okay, so what is your story that you're leaving behind for the others to? I mean, this is how we should approach it.
Yes.
And this advice came from a very good friend, Jeff Kashua. He said, write music for you. Don't think about the radio. Don't think about making money. Don't think about anything. You write good music. There are very few people who are able to put together compositions
Mhm.
today. So just keep focusing on write and publishing, write and publish. Don't think about anything else.
Mhm.
Luckily, I can do that.
Yeah. Very,
And
and
I
you
think
do
you
it
can do
well.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it is a gift. I happen to, I just know I'm a prolific songwriter. I write so many songs, I can't even think about it. I mean, it's so easy. And I hear, to me, music, it's another language, it's another realm. And I think as artists, we're messengers, like the Jean-Luc Ponty album, The Cosmic Messenger. We're cosmic messengers. And music is intangible. It's an intangible, it's out there. The notes are floating around. They're not in the physical plane. So it's our job as artists, I think, or we're
Mm.
conduits to let that music, that other language, that other vibration frequency that exists all around us in a ball bouncing or people walking, everything's rhythm and music, to bring that and channel it through. And if you have the ability to put it in a form that the average person who's not in those other realms and can't tap into that can get something from it, and they can follow it and feel good by it. And I think songwriting, for me, it has to have a beginning, a story in the middle, and an end. I think there was a saying, maybe Shakespeare, music is nothing but a succession of notes with a definite point of repose. You know?
But for me, it's an art of a science. I mean, um, you can look at the Shakespearean approach. You can look at a scientific approach.
Mhm.
It's a
Or
perfect harmony.
combined.
Yeah, the nature, the earth, wind,
Mhm.
and fire,
Yeah.
the fifth element of life. They're all in
Mhm.
harmony. It's all scientifically can be explained in a science way. But
Mhm.
my thing is, what feels right?
Right.
Okay, when you write your compositions, you feel it. It feels right in
Mhm.
certain ways. You
Yeah.
know, I'm very critical of everything that I write.
Mhm.
But there comes a time and a moment when it just feel like, okay, I think I'm done.
Yeah, you have to surrender to it, is what I
Yeah.
call it. Yeah, love, devotion, surrender. You have to love what you're doing, devote yourself to it, and then surrender to the outcome of each situation. I had a good talk with um, Brendan about that, and he's very much on the same level with that kind of thing. Now, what is your take on the current music industry compared to where it was, with the streaming and AI and all that? I know there's not in a critical way, I'm not asking, but how do you think it's changed practically as a practical way of having a career making music for those musicians, young musicians that sit home and TikTok and they put out riffs every day? They're making great money. There's no motivation for them to go out and play in a club or meet other musicians and play with them, because they're making $10,000 a month posting on YouTube and all that. What is your take on the industry today that you could say to let those musicians know that there's value in going out and dragging your gear to a club and playing with people and driving home late at night and unloading and or recording and getting out there and playing with other musicians? What
I
difference do
think
you see?
I think to be aware that this advancement in technology influences certain directions. Venues are struggling to get ticket sales. You know,
Yeah.
and one of the great venues in New York is Iridium. They drop
Mm.
50% off price to get people to come in,
Yeah.
which shouldn't be the case, right?
No.
I think both systems are designed to exist in
Mm.
parallel, right? If you ever play in New York, I'm not going to listen to you in Spotify or Apple Music. I'm going to come and
Mm.
see you in person because it's more than just listening. It's an experience. It's networking. It's something. So for anybody young, get to know, collaborate, network, build a community. Okay, that's when music happens.
Mm.
You know, doing things in TikTok, that's individual choice. By they're driven by money. They're driven by exploring their network to the next level. These are all good qualities. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mm.
But don't take shortcuts. That's what
Yeah.
I would say. You
Yeah.
know, it's a hard work to become known, to build a brand, and that brand ownership is so important. You know, what happens if TikTok is sold to Chinese government?
Yeah.
So everything that you establish,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't have a TikTok account, so I don't even
Well,
know.
but Instagram, they have even YouTube. There's people that I know. A guy used to be a teacher, and he quit his teaching job because he makes twice as much just doing YouTube
Yeah.
creation. But I mean, that's good for the young players, as you say, in that way. Now, if you could play with any musician, live or dead, from the past or present, and you had the chance to play with them just off the top of your mind, who would you love to play with?
You're asking for a wish list.
Sure, just one though. It's like if you get your last meal before you go to death row, before they execute you. What would you want to eat before?
It's a tough one
Yeah,
to find that one.
yeah. Just
Mm.
one person you'd like to play with that you.
Lalmais.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yes, good choice. Yeah, that's good.
Because
Lyle
I'm
Mays.
completely blown by his approach.
Oh yeah, he was a
His
genius.
genius, yeah.
Yeah, genius. And Pat Metheny writes all of his music on piano. He
Yeah.
doesn't write anything on guitar, um, and which is amazing. And for him to embrace another piano player the way he did was just amazing. That synergy they had. That's almost to me a relationship like the Beatles had. There's a certain magic with certain musicians when you get together, and there's nothing like it. Now, if there was a profession other than music you're doing now, and I know you've had other professions, real or fantasy, what if you weren't playing music, what would you love to do? Other profession would you want to do? Like
Astronomy.
astronomy, an astronomer.
Well, I mean, basically gazing the stars, charting. I mean, this is something I became. I mean, I used to be a comet chaser.
Oh,
Okay, so
there
I'm quite
goes
fast.
Reza Khan.
I mean, especially with technology, with the smart telescopes, which is small enough to go and look at the skies. I mean, I do that quite often, and I'm quite passionate. So, sometimes I will take a break from music for a month or two just to do that. So,
Oh, wow. I thought it might be like a Formula One driver or something, but
no, not that aggressive. Um, so,
uh,
so
if
if
you
I mean, we can take this opportunity to ask you for an advice too, right?
sure.
So I'm sitting on this record. So I've got 3 records finished, and obviously the I call it the genre boxing.
Hmm.
So the outlet that you need to release the record. So this record, I brought in, Mark and Danny, Clifford Carter, David Mann.
Hmm.
Okay, and this is an incredible record. It is not jazz, not fusion.
Hmm.
It has an ECM vibe to it.
Oh,
And I'm not sure exactly whether, because the moment I release it as me,
right.
the contemporary jazz, is it really contemporary jazz?
Yeah.
So I'm struggling with that record. It's a great record from beginning to the end, but how do I release it?
The thing too is you have to keep in mind you would be compromising yourself and your belief in music if you just thought because you already have a connection and a path, sort of say, with the smooth jazz industry, you know how to release music into that, hoping that maybe some of the audience will grasp some of it and that kind of thing. I wouldn't do that. I would just, because you'll come up with other music, or you may have already, that will fit in that and do great and be on the smooth jazz chart and all that kind of stuff. I would find an independent label like J&J Records that I just started and have them, if it's more, is it more guitar driven?
Yeah, it's a beautifully, tastefully written record.
But it is guitar driven, mostly guitar. Okay, because there are radio exposure into streaming and radio that if you wanted to do it that way, you could do it and not do it in that genre, because you're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, really. And I get that. I mean, I that's why doing A Soul in Time was such a great thing, because when I recorded it, I wasn't recording it to think I was going to release it. In fact, Dean said, no one's going to hear it anyway, so just do whatever you want. And of course, it ended up winning an award, which you can see over here. But I would just take the album and expose it in the way that you think is going to get to the listener that you think would appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good advice.
Yeah, I wouldn't compromise though, and just do the smooth jazz route, because I have songs too that I haven't done. I'm not going to change them because I want them to fit, so I can do that. Yeah, that's what I recommend. And then you said you had two other ones. Now there's one I think you did with Brendan Rothwell that's imminently coming out.
Yes, it's called Shadow Dancers.
Yeah.
And a great rhythm section put together. Brendan is there, Jimmy Haslip is there, Mark Egan's there. I just love the vibe. It's
is that smooth jazz or contemporary?
Not really. I mean, it's uniquely Reza.
What I'm getting from you is that you like me, you have that you can do, but if you have your other music, which I think is probably more in what you were talking about earlier, trying to find your own voice and your own direction, you can't let my advice into myself is don't let our connection and outlet that we have with the smooth jazz audience, don't even bring that into question.
Don't let them define you. This is what you're talking about.
Because
I mean, there's one song, it's in a 5/4, right? And I invited Nathan East to come and play.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, I mean, there's a Jack Brown from Snarky Puppies playing violin.
Oh, nice.
Okay, so it's an interesting record. A lot of odd meter, stuff in there. So this is, again, I'm not writing to, and I'm getting defined by the industry on this one.
Right.
All right. It is uniquely me, and it should be released.
Yeah. And then we're talking digitally too now. Are you going to release these on CD as well?
No, I recently decided to move all my catalog to a different distributor. Okay. So it was CD Baby before, then A-Train Management.
Is that for CDs, like physical CDs?
Physical CDs and digital distros.
Right. Now the thing about them, when you do physical CDs, they take a cut. I recommend, for me, I use and I can send you the link. They're called spinymedia.com.
Okay. And
they're based out of up north in Oregon area. And I'm in Walmart, Target, eBay, Amazon. They distribute to all the major thing, and you keep 100% of your
wonderful
sales. And what I do is I'll send 100 of each CD. They have their own marketplace where people can shop, and they ship it. They take care of all the shipping, anything that needs to be taken care of. And their shipping rates are much lower than Bandcamp. I was having people buy CDs from Europe, and they would pay $60 for a $5 CD, and most of it was for the shipping to Europe because of the tariff and all that kind of stuff. And these guys ship it there for $15. And
Wow.
and so I had some people that were buying it, and I told them that, and they canceled the order and went. And I said, I can save you money, go there. So there are outlets where you can do. That's what I'm saying. If you have music that's going to be more in the fusion, more in your sound that you want to do, find a small label like JMJ Records. Do, like I'm advertising now, and I just picked up a guitar player from in France, Laurent Madalgi, I think his name is. And I'm talking with them now, and I'm basically going to take his music, and I'm going to market it in a way to present it to an American audience. And there's ways to do that. I have, because of over the years, I didn't start getting into this smooth jazz genre or branding myself until 2020. And the reason 2020 was because the pandemic hit, it quieted everything down. Because it was quiet, I could come in a loud way and and be heard. So when it quieted down, I made a name for myself. So I took a negative and took lemonade and lemons and made lemonade out of it. And so what I tell a lot of these people that I'm talking to, a lot of musicians, is don't think you have to there's no outlet out there. There is. I know what they are because I've had to do it myself. And you don't have to do the work. Let me do the work for you. Pay me to do it, obviously, but I can get your music out there and get it heard by the right people. So you have your smooth jazz outlet. You have just do them all,
Makes
just
sense.
optimize, because it's going to increase your listenership. It's going to expose your talent to more people, which is that's what we all want. I mean, I want to be heard. I know when I'm dead, like you said, my music's going to live long after me.
Right.
Just like a painter. We paint a painting, we stick it in the attic. We don't think anyone cares. Someone finds it and it sells for 50 million bucks, Uh, to be a successful artist, I think, and success isn't just about money, but we have a voice, and we want our voice to be heard. I want my voice to be heard. That's why I do what I do. I could just sit in my room and play and record. No one would ever hear me. But it's not ego. What it is that there's something in us, either from our childhood or experiences that for me, it was about approval at first, because I needed approval from other people. And if somebody patted me on the back and said, "Wow, you sound great." Oh, great. I'm doing something that I created out of nothing, and it's great, So whatever your motivation is, but if you need any help with those, you know who to call.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
And anything before we end the interview you want to share with people, upcoming album, any dates, where they can buy merchandise, where they can follow you, websites, any of that?
Yeah, so the new record is called Shadow Dancers. It should be up in spring. We're getting ready to package and release it. I think the strategy would be first release a few singles. I think that's where I was told by the industry expert, and you might not
It's
agree.
called the waterfall method, is what it's called.
Right. So release 1, 2, 3 singles, and traditional radio promotion is no longer, I don't know. I mean, it's an argument, in both ways, depending on how you look at it. But streaming platforms requires you to be relevant by campaigning for a streaming release
Right.
every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Until you hit a point where you can do a combined single and a radio promotion at the same time.
Right. So what you want to do is you want to do every 6 weeks, maybe 6 songs, and then you can do them all. And then once you get all those numbers that you accumulated for streams and views and ads and all that, when you come out with the album, they combine with the album. So it
Correct.
actually gives the album more exposure and helps it get up the charts quicker because, as you know, the more spins you have, the higher you
Yeah.
go up. Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's something brand new that I'm going to be trying
yeah.
with this release.
It's a method. Like for me, for the first 3 years or 4 years, really, I would release a CD, and I originally released it just to get work to give for events. And I got into smooth jazz for that because you can play more weddings doing that than jazz fusion. Is that you release it, the charts come out on Monday. On Tuesdays, I would see who added me and who didn't. Those who didn't, I would send an email to all of them, an email blast, BCC. And then the ones that did, I would thank them. And because not all stations can play you all the time because maybe they only have 3 hours a week. And so they have to remove you to put other artists and maybe more well-known artists. And then maybe a couple of weeks later, so every Tuesday for 4 years, I never missed a day, I would send an email. Could you please add me? Could you please add me if they took me down? Because I knew they would re-add. So you have to, for me, what I do with my label that I'm starting is I do that for new artists. I'm the one who contacts the programmers, the DJs every week. Please add, thank you. So you don't have to. You just release the music and then it's on automatic, and you trust that the label, which is the label, what I'm doing, is going to do all that. Then after a while, it's almost like if you went into an office and you were a salesman selling liquor, and every time you went to the restaurant, you left a piece of paper. You don't give them the whole thing. You leave something on their desk. And so if you're constantly contacting somebody, eventually they're going to respond. They get to know you almost. And because I've had some people where I stopped sending emails to them and they contacted me and said, "Are you okay? I haven't heard from you in 2 weeks." And I said, "Oh man, I thought maybe you weren't interested." "Oh yeah, we'd love to. Yeah, we'll play it. We'll do this. Sorry, Da, da, da. So it's really just about being consistent and then knowing when everything transpires. You know about releasing a CD on a single on Fridays. Get your ISRC numbers, all that stuff. I do all that for the musician. All they have to do is give me the music. I have a producer that will make it sound. If they want the smooth contemporary jazz, we put it in that pocket with the right ear candy, the mix, and then marketing. We market it the way it's supposed to market. Everything. I do all that. So all you have to do is make the music, give it to me. I'll do the rest. Yeah, it's one-stop shopping. Yeah. So that's my plug out there. Always be selling the ABCs. Always be selling. Anyway, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you have to go run errands and things like that. We all have to get out there, but I'm glad you took the middle of the day to contribute to this series. I think it's going to have a lot of information that's going to benefit people, and we'll keep the conversation going after the camera stops, and hopefully maybe do some collaboration. I talked to Brendan about doing something with him that I wanted to do a year ago. I still haven't done the song. So we may do something. So maybe even the three of us might do something together. It might be
Sure.
fun.
I've got tons of ideas in the head, and we can definitely find a common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we have that commonality too, that kind of fusion, odd time feel for things. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate you joining me. Yeah.
Thanks for having me on your show, and let's keep it going in terms of conversation.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Reza. Enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.